This is one of the longest range electric vehicles you can buy today. Yeah, I finally got my hands on the Ioniq 6 long range. Yes, this beastie will set you back $95,000. For that, you get 614 kilometers on a charge. The problem is, those range estimates, well, they're often less truthful than my Tinder profile. Which is why my mission today is to take this long distance streamliner on a long distance drive. And we are off, and my mission today is a big one. I'm going to be leaving here, Sylvia Park, with my destination being Taupo in the central North Island. And then from there I'm going to stop for lunch, but not stop to charge, turn around and come all the way back to Auckland City on one charge. This journey is going to take about 7 hours and cover 533 kilometers. The thing is though, I genuinely don't know if I can make it. I have to be mentally prepared to stop and charge somewhere near the end. I just don't know if it's possible because sure, officially the car can do 614 Ks on a charge, but that's in the perfect world. In the real world, I'm going to be 1, going at the Waikato Expressway and where the speed limit is 110 Ks an hour. 2, it's going to be windy. 3, it's going to be wet. And 4, it's going to be cold. Now, all those things combined, electric cars really don't like. So I have to be mentally prepared that I'm going to have to pull over and stop and charge somewhere near the end. And you should be mentally prepared as well. I want to succeed. Don't get me wrong. Who wants to start a journey doomed to fail? I want to succeed. But I may not. Let's settle in for what is going to be a very long drive, a very long day. So first of all, I'm going to press the button on the steering wheel here, drive mode, and put it into eco. Oh, already I can feel it's become sluggish. And I'm going to use the paddles on the steering wheel, which adjust the regenerative braking, to turn the regen braking off completely. So now it's just going to coast. And this thing is so aerodynamic, so efficient, that when I take my foot off the accelerator, it just keeps going. It just glides. You know, like a regular gas car, they're so clunky, they slow down pretty quickly. This, you just pulse and glide. Now I should point out also that there are 4 different flavors of the Ioniq 6. Now I got to drive the top spec one. That's the one that's dual motor, all-wheel drive, stupidly fast. It's got 20-inch wheels. It's got a fancy little sunroof on the roof. It's got these cool displays instead of side mirrors. It's all littered with gadgetry. This one is a little bit more bare bones. So let's start from the beginning. There is the entry-level version, which is priced low enough to get the clean car rebate. Then there's the second level up, which is this long-range version, basically the same car but with a bigger battery. Then you get the Elite, which is obviously a bit more grunty, still rear wheel drive, has 20-inch wheels, which is basically the same car with more gadgetry. Then you get the Limited. That's the top spec one. That's the one I got to review. That is the fancy one. If I had endless amounts of cash, that's the one I'd be buying. But this is the one that goes a long distance per charge. This is the long range version. This is the one I'm interested in today. Let's see if this is fit for purpose. Let us talk about that range though, which officially is 614 kilometers per charge, but that's according to the WLTP test cycle, which I like to think means way less than predicted. In New Zealand conditions, take that WLTP range and typically take 15% off, and that's your real world range. Now, 15% off 614 is 522 kilometers, and that is actually 10 Ks less than my predicted journey today. First things first, however, I need to pull over and get myself a cup of coffee because I am lacking in caffeine and it's gonna be a long drive, so why not? I'm just gonna pull into a cafe here. Now, often I would use these hyper rapid chargers from ChargeNet to charge up this vehicle, but in this instance, I'm not going to use it, but it's good to know they're there. In fact, ChargeNet has hundreds of DC rapid chargers like that all around New Zealand, which means you can basically drive an electric car anywhere a car can go now running on clean electricity. And yes, it's clean, because all of the chargers installed by ChargeNet all run off Ecotricity electricity. If you don't know anything about Ecotricity, let me give you the quick shout out. Ecotricity is an electricity provider, but all the electricity is climate positive. Completely clean, not just carbon zero, climate positive, which means that by joining Ecotricity, running your house and your car off climate positive electricity, you're effectively helping to turn back the clock on climate change. It sounds too good to be true, but it's not. And it's Toitū certified, so you know it's good. And plus it's also actually really kind of affordable because there's no gas plants, no coal plants, none of that expensive dirty stuff to maintain, just wind, hydro and solar. Sign up at ecotricity.co.nz, join today, be part of the good fight. I'm with them and I'm a tightwad, so that gives you a good endorsement. But for now, let's grab a coffee and then we'll hit the road again. All right, and we're off. And as we get on the motorway, let me tell you about some of the features that this car comes with as standard. It's fairly feature-filled. For example, we can start with these seats, which are interesting. Seats aren't normally that interesting, but these are because they're largely made from recycled PET plastic, you know, like Coke bottles and stuff like that. But it doesn't feel recycled. It feels really nice, very comfortable, and I do love a cloth seat. There is something to be said about cloth, because in the summer sun, do you really want to have a pan-fried, seared backside on synthetic leather or leather itself? You can't beat cloth. It's underrated. Other things you get are an electronic rear boot that's operated through the remote control. Plus you also get wireless phone charging here and bucket loads of USB charging throughout the car, so you've got heaps of connectivity. It also has Android and Apple connectivity, but it is wired, not wireless, which is strange in such an upmarket car. And as far as I can tell, the reason for that is because Google, Apple and Hyundai both all want their map system to be first and foremost. And so, as far as I can, don't quote me on that, but that's what I've been reading on the internet. If anyone knows anything else, let me know. But as far as I can tell, that's the reason why it's still wired, not wireless. You also get dual 12.3-inch displays in front of you. They're great. This one on the left-hand side is touchscreen, controls a lot of the car's functions. There's no lag, the menu's easy to use, although there's a lot of stuff in there, so it's going to take a little bit of re-educating to figure it all out. The contrast and definition is brilliant, however, the way that it's designed, the steering wheel, if you have it set kind of low, which I like, then you're going to lose some of the top half of the screen here. It's just obscured by the steering wheel. That I don't like. That could be solved with maybe a heads-up display, but this model doesn't have it. Only the top spec models come with heads-up displays. You also get a 6-speaker sound system with the car, and it actually sounds pretty good for a stock standard system. And part of the reason for that is because this car is ridiculously quiet. Like I'm doing 92 k's an hour right now, and I can whisper to you. Honestly, even on the motorway, it's quieter than a party in a library.
This party really sucks.
Look, we've paid for the stock footage account, we're going to use it. As for paid optional extras, one I'd recommend looking at if you're going to buy this car is the V2L adapter. Basically, for about $862, you get a device that plugs into the side of the car and turns your car into a giant 4-wheeled battery bank, which allows you to run your household appliances if you have a power cut, or just take your car camping and be one of those annoying Auckland campers that takes their big screen and coffee machine. Seriously, you could run your kettle and your microwave and regular household appliances on this battery, and it would last for perhaps 1-2 weeks with regular usage. I don't know why all electric cars don't have this option. It's absolutely brilliant. Well, I've got to be honest, I'm getting a little bored with driving now, so I'm going to let the car do the work. And this car has lane keeping assist and adaptive cruise control, level 2 autonomous driving basically. It does all the hard work for you. So I'm going to turn on the cruise control by pushing this button here. Okay, set it to 100. Okay, cruise control's on. Look at that. And it keeps the distance of the vehicle in front, and it does it brilliantly. Okay, now let's turn on lane keeping assist. All right, now I've got to keep my hands on the wheel, but effectively the car's driving itself. I can just chill out now. Now when it comes to level 2 autonomous driving, how sure-footed the system is, how human-like it is, there are 2 systems in my mind to beat. There is, first of all, Tesla, the Model 3 and the Model Y. Tesla has autopilot, which is utterly brilliant. And then there is the BMW iX M60. I got to take that on a long-distance drive, and I found that to be so good, you would think there was a person driving the car. That's how intelligent and sure-footed it was. Both those 2 systems, BMW and Tesla, are excellent. This one, however, is also very, very good. I don't know if it's at the same level. More driving's required before I can decide that. Gosh, I do love this thing. Look at this, look at this. I can chill out, car's doing the driving, it's monitoring the road. I've just got to keep my hand on the wheel, keep watching, but I can relax. We're living in the future. Have you ever thought about it, that we're actually living in the future? We're basically driving self-driving cars, and this one, I should point out, is stupidly safe. One of the safest vehicles you can buy today. 5-star safety rating, various grades of steel all around the car during the construction. Softer steel at the front, super thick, strong steel in the passenger compartment to make sure that you remain safe. It's got airbags galore. There's even a central airbag between the front seats here. It's staggering how safe this car is. It's all that stuff you can't see that I really like. The safety stuff, the gadgetry, the self-driving software that's working feverishly right now, trying to keep me safe and secure in the lane. Meanwhile, I sit on my backside drinking a lovely hot latte. I love it. We're living in the future. This is fantastic. As for alternatives, well, you've got the BMW i7, which does 625 k's per charge maximum, or you had the Tesla Model 3 long range that did 602 kilometers per charge and cost just 91 grand, a little bit cheaper. But much like Google, Tesla, without ceremony, just pulled the car. As of January this year, doesn't exist in New Zealand anymore. So, in terms of bang for buck, this is it if you want a long range, long distance, comfortable cruiser. Progress update, we have made it to Tirau. We're doing all right. Now there is down that street there a couple of rapid chargers, ChargeNet chargers, but I am not going to use them. I'm going to carry on. Wish me luck. Our status update, we are almost in Taupō. We have another 13 kilometers to go, which is good because I'm looking forward to a break. So far we've done 3 hours and 19 minutes of driving, just about to hit 250 k's. Pretty painless so far, and the traffic has meant that no one's been able to go very fast, for better or worse. Good for economy if nothing else. We have made it to Taupō. How about that? All right, situation update. We are here in the center of Taupō and we have 55% charge remaining. Staggering. It's just amazing to think that 15 short years ago, which wasn't long ago, this journey was impossible. Impossible. And now, just 15 years later, we've got cars that can do this not only in one charge, but on half a charge. Staggering. Okay, efficiency-wise, 13.9 kilowatt hours per 100k has been my efficiency. That is very good. That is, I think, the best I've ever seen efficiency-wise for a vehicle. I'm really impressed, but it does mean after 260.4 kilometers, 3.5 hours, it does mean it's going to be cutting it close on the journey back. Okay, one minor complaint I have about this car is the constant bonging. There's all different flavors of bing, ding, 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 ding. You name it, there's all different kinds of bongs and bings going on. You are going to have to get used to that. It is one of the reasons why it has such a great safety rating, is that it has all of these driver aids to remind you. And you can turn them off, but you have to turn them off every time you start the car. Yeah, I know. Kind of annoying. The other complaint I have is that, unfortunately, if you are kind of yearning for the toilet, it has quite firm suspension. And what? Would you please be quiet? Quite firm suspension. And it means that, yeah, you and your bladder will be shaken somewhat. So I'm quite looking forward to the bathroom right now. Behind me is Lake Taupō, and of course the Ioniq 6 that brought me down here, and so far it's been pretty effortless, but I should probably address something obvious. This is not a realistic road trip, because when you're on a road trip, or at least when I go on a road trip, I stop, I get a bite to eat, I use the bathroom, I'll get a coffee. And in that time, I simply plug the car in, because there are chargers everywhere. There's hundreds and hundreds of rapid chargers all around New Zealand installed by ChargeNet. But in this instance, I'm not doing any of that. It feels weird. As for the design of this Ioniq 6, it's polarizing. It's the back, I think, that polarizes most people. And the designer, I Googled him to find out what madman, what genius came up with this idea. Well, Mr. Sangyup Lee is his name, and I hoped with all my heart that he was wearing a polo neck in the photo I found. I was not disappointed. I took a break for 15 minutes, eating my lunch, and didn't charge the car, which felt weird because within a 1 kilometer radius there were no fewer than 6 rapid chargers I could have used. But this test is for your entertainment, so before long I hit the road and headed north. Well, we have left Taupō. We have now done 280.4 kilometers and we are at 49% state of charge. It's going to be touch and go, and at this point I should probably talk about stats, efficiency, that sort of stuff. So this vehicle, it weighs 1,910 kilograms. It's the rear-wheel drive version. And it's 4.85 meters long. So it's big, it's deceptively big, because in pictures on the internet, it doesn't look that big, but in person, it's a bit of a chonker. And one of the reasons it's so heavy and big is that it has a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, which, because of its stupid efficiency, I hope, gets 614 k's per charge. Don't know about that. We'll find out. The reason why it can get up to 614 k's per charge is because it has a really low drag coefficient. It slides through the air. That's why it's so unusually shaped. It's because this thing is basically slipperier than me trying to get out of a speeding ticket. Sorry I was speeding, my dog's on fire and I broke my neck and you look really young, you know? Just give me the ticket. But if you've made it this far through the video, then thank you. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind just scrolling down a little bit and pressing the like and the subscribe button right under this video, not only keeps me in a job, but it justifies my existence too. Thank you very much for doing so. I owe you a fine gourmet potato. Well, that's potentially bad news. I just put the charger that I want to use in Auckland Central into the sat-nav, and it's saying here that the battery charge would be insufficient to make it. That's concerning. Okay, I don't know. I might have to just change my driving style a little bit, just slow down a little bit, see if that helps. Let's see what happens. There's no reason to panic because there are chargers everywhere, but I do want to make it on one charge. That's the thing. Watch this space. Well, this is an interesting turn of events. A moment ago, it said that there's no way I'm going to make it to the charger in Auckland City, so I reduced my speed a bit, and the economy's changed. I'm now doing 13.6 kilowatt hours per 100k, which is amazing. And now it says there's 203 k's until the charger, and the range estimator, 203 k's left on the charge. We're at 42%. As long as I keep my speed down, keep it in check, we'll be fine. I hope. I don't know. Watch this space. This could be a disaster. This could be a disaster. 1 hour later, here's another update. Auckland is 115 kilometers away and I've been driving now for exactly 6 hours. Woo-hoo. But I'm no longer worried because I dropped my speed down a bit. My economy is now at 13.2 kilowatt hours per 100k. Mind-blowingly great economy. And it reckons, the guessometer says I can do 142 k's on 27% charge, which is great because the charger is 109 kilometers away. So as long as I keep my speed in check, we got this in the bag. One concern, however, is that the adaptive cruise has stopped working. It says the lens or something at the front of the camera is covered, which is odd, but I'm not going to stop right now because, you know, I'm doing all right and I don't need the adaptive cruise, so I'll check that when I get to the charger. It's a little bit concerning though. Why would that stop working? Stay tuned for that. I soldiered on through the rain and the sun and both, plus Auckland's awful traffic, before finally making it to Auckland Central to charge up the car and tally up the kilometres. Well, the good news is I have made it to Auckland City, finally. Now I'm just going to go and plug the car in at the charger. It has taken me, what's it been, 7 hours and 52 minutes. Obviously a lot longer than anticipated because of lunch and traffic. Lots and lots of Auckland traffic. But we've averaged 13 kilowatt hours per 100k and we've done 532.2 kilometers on one charge, and we still have 8% remaining. That says 46 k's left to drive. That is impressive. I'm impressed. Very much so. Here is the charger. Sweet. Let's back her in. Made it. 8% state of charge remaining, 45 k's left on the odometer, but we have done 532.4 kilometers. Incredible! That is the longest distance I've ever gone in an electric car without stopping, without charging. That's brilliant. I mean, 15 years ago, impossible. 15 years from now, maybe we'll look back at this and think, oh yeah, every car does that now. But today, at this moment in 2023, there's no other word for it, this is impressive. Impressive. All right, let's plug this thing in, get it charged up. And it's off. Wow. I know I'm getting wet, but I don't care because that was impressive. That was at 532 kilometers. And look, okay, to be fair, in the last couple of 100Ks, I slowed down a bit because I was uncertain, but I didn't need to slow down as much as I did. This is remarkable. Now I know how the car feels, how it drives, what its economy is, how it responds to a reduction in speed. I reckon with hypermiling, I could possibly get 600 kilometers out of a charge on the open road in New Zealand. Amazing. Well done, Hyundai. I am seriously impressed. As for charging time, it reckons it's going to take 35 minutes on this charger to get to 80% full, but I don't need 80%. I only need to get to perhaps 20%. So I'm just going to charge for 5 minutes and then go home. I also want to find out, now the rain subsided, why the cruise control, the adaptive cruise, stopped working. It says something was blocking the front of the car. I don't see. Aha. That might explain it. Okay, so a screw has fallen out at some point. That's embarrassing. Okay, all right. Lesson learned. Screw in your license plate properly. And there you have it, 532 Ks on a charge. If you've got close to that in your car or beaten it, let me know in the comments because I want to know. But let's jump into the SPUDSCORE, and the Ioniq 6 long range gets 6 out of 10 with that 168 kilowatt motor driving the rear wheels. Next is handling, and definitely 8 out of 10 because don't let those looks fool you, it's actually a corner hugging beast. Comfort's next, and it gets an average 5 out of 10 because that corner hugging suspension is actually really firm, plus this model doesn't even come with seated heats as standard. Efficiency's next, and you saw it in action, 10 out of 10. I mean, far out. Look how much range we got per charge in such a heavy big car. Gadgetry is next, and it has everything you could want, so it gets 7 out of 10, although to be fair, I have been spoiled by the top spec version of this car. What about value? Well, it's not a cheap electric car, but it is still the longest range car I've ever driven, so 6 out of 10. Charging's next, and it gets 10 out of 10 because it can charge at up to 350 kilowatts on a DC hyper rapid charger. That means 20% to 80% full takes 15 minutes. But what about style? I'm giving it 7 out of 10 because while on one hand it is audacious and bold, it's also not really my favorite design. And as a long range family car, is it fit for purpose? Well, yes, of course, 8 out of 10 because this essentially replaces the petrol-powered family car. And last but not least is PSC, and the Ioniq 6 gets 10 out of 10, breaking the passenger car record with a PSC of 82, which makes a total SPUD score of 77. That's a very high overall score because this is a game changer. It has as much range as the average petrol-powered car, but it also has better power delivery and economy that combustion is simply incapable of. Altogether, this long-range Ioniq 6 is a four-wheeled nail in the coffin for the combustion-powered car, and personally, I've been waiting a long time for this day.